When a young boy became separated from his group in the vast, untamed wilderness of Africa, panic set in fast. His cries for help echoed through the jungle, only to be answered not by a human voice, but by the sudden appearance of a massive lion emerging from the dense undergrowth. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. Ethan, wide-eyed and full of curiosity and an untamable sense of adventure, had wandered too far and now stood completely alone in the heart of the African jungle. It happened during a family vacation in Africa, where every day up to that point had been full of discovery and joy. However, one rash decision of Ethan to look into the nearest bushes running away from his parents led to a real disaster wandering among the dense vegetation where even the sun's rays barely penetrated. Through the tangle of leaves and branches, Ethan felt completely alone and helpless. A primal fear seized him when he realized that he had lost his way and did not know how to get back to the camp, and no one responded to his loud cries. The boy immediately remembered all the horror stories about the wild beasts that could be waiting at every turn in Africa, and his heart began to beat faster and faster in an anxious premonition of danger. Ethan was still crying and screaming when the bushes nearby suddenly stirred. The boy whispered, "Hopefully, Mommy." But instead, a menacingly roaring lion suddenly emerged from the bushes. The predator seemed enormous. Its cold eyes stared straight at Ethan, forcing him to the ground as hard as he could. The boy was convinced that this was the end of his exciting adventure in Africa. However, to Ethan's surprise, the lion did not attack him immediately, but came close to him and began to lick the tears from his face. Ethan did not know what to do, so he just held his breath and tried not to move. Soon, Ethan realized that the predator, which turned out to be a large adult lioness, wasn't going to hurt him. Breathing out a sigh of relief, the boy began to think about how he could find his way home. Ethan began to carefully back up, trying not to make the big predator nervous, but he tripped on a thick liana and fell to the ground, hurting his right leg badly. The boy sobbed with pain and despair, and the lioness, as if sensing the child's pain, approached him again and began to lick his wounded leg gently. Ethan was confused by the unusual behavior of the predator, which, judging by the creepy stories of adults, should have attacked him long ago. He could not understand why this mysterious lion was behaving so peacefully. It seemed that the predator had recently raised her own cubs, and she was still driven by her maternal instinct, which did not allow her to harm a human child. Ethan tried to take a few steps, but immediately groaned in pain as he seemed to have sprained his right leg. However, the lioness also realized this. She came closer to the boy and let him climb on her powerful, furry back. Ethan mentally thanked the huge predator, grasped her fur tightly, and closed his eyes while the lioness confidently went through the thicket, seeming to know where she needed to go. Ethan was afraid for a moment that the lions would bring him to her pack, which could tear him to pieces in a moment, but the boy tried to push the bad thoughts away from him. That ended in less than half an hour. The two came to a small stream where the lions lay down on the ground, allowing Ethan to get down and drink clean, cool water. After a short rest, the two continued on their way, and soon Ethan heard human voices somewhere nearby. The lioness let the child get down on the ground and moved away into the bushes while Ethan began to shout loudly and call for help. A few minutes later, the boy's parents and several locals appeared in the clearing. His mother carefully picked Ethan up in her arms and hugged him tightly while his father noticed the lioness in the bushes and prepared to shoot at it with a gun. It was certain that the predator was hunting the boy. When Ethan saw this, he shouted that the lion was now his best friend who had saved his life. When Ethan told his parents about his unbelievable adventure in the jungle with the lioness, they could only stare at him, mouths agape in stunned amazement. The lioness, after making sure her small companion was safe and out of danger, silently slipped back into the dense brush. People watched her go, their eyes following her graceful form with awe and gratitude, for she had done the unthinkable. She had saved Ethan, and in doing so, reminded them all of the mysterious bond that can sometimes form between the wild and the innocent.